Oh, welcome back! Now, everyone who knows me knows I love a good scare.
Scaredy cat.
But I equally love a great laugh.
Well, you all know what laughter sounds like.
So today I'll be digging into a film that provides both chills and thrills, from the zany to the scary, that provides the right amount of slapstick humor to balance out that grotesque horror. So work on your cardio and strap on your chainsaw, because today we'll be looking into a sequel that surpasses the original, Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn. What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Mindless Mayhem. And on this channel I will be reviewing and discussing anything that falls into the realm of horror, gore, thriller, and just complete and utter chaos. My name is Dave Lyons, and if you haven't seen my first video where I look back into the development of the original Evil Dead movie, then I suggest you go check it out. I will leave a link to that in the description below. Because in this video we will be checking out the second installment in the Sam Raimi horror franchise and find out how a movie that was never supposed to get made in the first place become the blueprint in the horror comedy genre that is still used to this day. So let's get into it. The film follows two college students, Ash Williams and his girlfriend Linda, to a remote cabin in the woods where Ash discovers a tape recorder and a book bound in skin and inked in blood.
Necronomicon Ex Mortis. Roughly translated, Book of the Dead.
Wait, hold on a second. This sounds strangely familiar. Isn't this how the first movie started? I thought this was a sequel. And where did Ash's sister and his friends go? Well, this has been open for debate for a long time, asking the question, is this a remake or a sequel? Well, it's actually both. It's a requel. Now, whatever. And the reason behind this can be summed up into two words: crime wave. Have you heard of it? Maybe. Have you seen it? Probably not. This noir black comedy B-movie was the next film that the trio started on after the massive success of The Evil Dead. But with a messy production, terrible editing choices from Embassy Pictures, and a lackluster reception from critics and audiences upon its release, the film tanked, only making a few $1,000s from its $2.5 million budget, thus forcing the creative team to fall back to their roots. Literally. After the massive critical and financial failure of Crime Wave, Sam, Robert, and Bruce went back to the drawing board and started production on the sequel to The Evil Dead.
After Crime Wave, he wanted to, and I know, just to make a movie that worked, and we knew that Evil Dead 2 would work, and that it had a certain audience, and it could make money for somebody, and that we could make a good picture out of it, which are really right reasons to make a movie. I know there are other tales that we may have rather have told, but they were much more expensive and beyond our range.
But with their names now tarnished within the industry, they found it difficult to find funding and a distributor to help get this movie off the ground. But little did they know that they had a guardian angel on their side in the form of Stephen King. That's right, for the second time the elite fanboy of the original film came to save the day, because once he caught wind that Sam Raimi was having difficulties trying to find funding, he reached out to producer Dino De Laurentiis, who at the time had a movie deal with King to produce adaptations to several of King's books, like Cat's Eyes, Silver Bullets, and Maximum Overdrive, and King asked Dino to personally fund this film.
Until we brought the script to De Laurentiis Entertainment Group, which is now, I think, defunct. But nevertheless, we showed the script to Dino, and he said, "How much you want for this picture?" So we said, we told him what we needed, which was basically $3.5 million to $4 million, and he said, okay.
Now with financial backing and working with a budget 10 times higher than the original film, Sam Raimi was like a kid in a candy store who now had the ability to hire and collaborate with professional screenwriters like Scott Spiegel, full team of prosthetic effects makeup artists, led by the ultra-talented Mark Scherstrom, and he was even able to build an interior cabin set within a local high school gymnasium to help elevate this film to new heights. But there was another issue that needed to be sorted, as New Line Cinemas owned the rights to the original Evil Dead movie. And to properly retell the story for the sequel, the crew were unable to obtain the scenes from New Line Cinemas. So they were forced to reshoot their own recap storyline to help set the stage for the Evil Dead 2. Now, this is where the remake comes into play. By eliminating most of the characters from the previous movie and only keeping Ash and his girlfriend in play, this would help speed up the pace of the previous story and move this sequel along. We see Ash stumble across a tape recorder in another room, which in my opinion is a much more believable explanation to why Ash played this recorder in the first place. It was just lying around, so curiosity got the best of him. In the previous movie, he actually ventured down into a literal murder dungeon and then didn't second guess one time not to just leave that shit alone. The Kandarian texts are spoken, Linda is possessed, Ash is forced to decapitate and bury the love of his life. And then we see the evil force charge towards Ash, and this is where the original film ends and the sequel begins. Sam Raimi wanted to make a movie that seemed familiar to the original without falling victim to the same old horror movie tropes that have been done before in the past, which is why they made significant changes to the style of the film and leaned more into the slapstick comedy aspect, but dialed the violence and insanity to 11.
We didn't want to create a movie that would have, cause kids to have nightmares. That wasn't the goal. It was just to give them a roller coaster ride for 90 minutes and they could go home and forget about it. And so Evil Dead 2 was even more like that, really. We wanted to have a wider appeal. So we took out some of the real gore and put in a couple of Three Stooges type gags.
Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are diehard Three Stooges fans, and it's this quirky comedy style that you could see sprinkled throughout the entirety of this film. From the stop-motion Fred Astaire-inspired zombie dancing scene to the entire sequence of Ash versus his severed hand and many more.
The scene where they jump on the trap door and the Pee-wee Head's eyeball flies out and zips across and goes into Cassie Wesley's mouth. That was a Three Stooges gag.
The first installment can be classified as a serious horror film, but this second installment can actually be classified in the genre of horror comedy or splatstick or spookablast that has actually been coined by Raimi himself. And there was one key element that Raimi used to help separate these two films, and that was by changing the overall tone of the movie. Be that by certain lighting choices, the sporadic camera movements, the sound effects used, or the use of visual jokes.
Is your new home?
There is no single consistent tone in the Evil Dead 2, and actually it works. A scene could start off like any other typical horror movie, then move into slapstick, then into gore, then back into a serious tone, then back into slapstick, and then more gore. This constant shift keeps us, the viewers, on the edge of our seats, as we're never really prepared to what's coming around the corner next, and how to generally feel about the ludicrous events that is happening before our very own eyes, as Evil Dead 2 uses excessive gore and violence for the purpose of humor, with morbidly violent gags and physical humor to create a one-of-a-kind experience. But I feel the pacing actually slows down once we are introduced to the new cast of supporting characters. Because for the first half hour of the film, we are basically getting a one-man show out of Ash, who is played by Bruce Campbell. A man trapped in a cabin just trying to survive as a demonic force beats him down and torments his mind as he slips further into the depths of madness. If this sequel was just a self-contained psychological horror, fully centered around Ash battling an unseen presence while losing his grip on reality, then I think I honestly would have been cool with that.
Losing his mind. And I'm reaping all the benefits.
He goes from a desperate survivor to a Looney Tunes-esque psychopath in just seconds, and we get not just one, but two moments of Ash fighting off a severed body part with just Bruce Campbell's campy performance to carry the scene. And honestly, it never gets old in my opinion. But this is a horror film, and in most horror films, a certain kill count is required. So, bring on the sacrificial lambs! Due to the high level of violence, The Evil Dead 2 had difficulty obtaining an R rating that they were obligated to make from the Motion Picture Association of America. Upon reviewing, the MPAA knew that the movie would receive a X rating, thus limiting its commercial release.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
And so the Rosebud Releasing Corporation was established. This fake shell company was set up to handle the film's US release so it could be shown as unrated. This is why you see this really kind of out of place rosebud blooming logo at the beginning of the film, which I always thought was really weird. The film released on March 13th, 1987, but didn't do too well at the box office, only making little over $800,000 due to its limited release in 310 theaters. But over the next month, the film would do great, grossing around $6 million domestically and around $11 million worldwide, and being ranked as one of the best cult films of all time.
Groovy.
This is by far my favorite film out of the franchise, as it blends the genres of horror and comedy in such a unique way without taking itself too seriously, delivering a movie with an unmatched replay value that I could watch any time of the year, no matter the mood I'm in. This will wrap up this section of my Evil Dead 2 outlook. So join me next time as I conclude my synopsis of this classic trilogy with the final installment and the most quotable movie out of the franchise, The Army of Darkness. And if you are enjoying this type of content, then please like and subscribe, and we will check you next time.